Right, so I haven't done a boat update for quite a while, and there's been quite a lot going on, including this porthole. So yeah, a bit of a quick one, and quickly show you around what I've been doing the last, it's like 3 months until after the video. So yeah, loads have been done. There it is. Just reach and grab the camera. Alright, so this is what I did yesterday. Porthole surround and bolt-on flange is welded in. So I wanted the glass in the porthole to be quite nicely deeply recessed from the hull, so that it's less likely to get smacked, because this porthole's right in the middle of the hull and in quite a sort of vulnerable spot. I'm not worried about the hull itself having a hole in it, because I think the framework that I've put in and the porthole frame itself is actually going to be quite strong. So yeah, that's pretty good. Portholes themselves, yeah, they're lovely. 1950s, Swedish made, came off a ship called the RSS Shackleton. We got them from a boat breakers who dismantled the ship. They're double glazed, the glass is super thick, a solid brass, they weigh a ton, and we got 2 for 100 quid, which is an absolute bargain. I've seen these sort of things going for 200 to 300 quid on eBay and places like that. So we did really, really well on that. Okay, a bit of a walk around. Yeah, I just haven't been bothered to do the YouTube videos. Haven't really felt motivated for it, so it's not like I've gone away or anything like that. I did have a bit of a period of feeling ill due to dust inhalation. So if anyone else is doing these sorts of projects, especially if you're welding galvanised steel or anything like that, I would thoroughly recommend really, really good breathing protection, because you don't feel very well when you've sucked in a load of metal dust and grinding dust and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, these, it's a little bit bright for the camera, but these are reinforced plates where our handrails and mooring bits are going to go on. These two are for handrails. It's really, really overexposed. I'll go somewhere darker. The sand everywhere is from sandblasting, because I was really aware that in between this plate and the deck is somewhere we're never going to be able to paint again. So I wanted to make sure that it was well painted. So I've sandblasted the deck, sandblasted the other side of this 8mm plate to make sure it doesn't to get a good key for the paint, and then it's been painted with high zinc metal primer, which I've used elsewhere on the boat, and some of it's been exposed to rain and weather for sort of the last 2 years, and the primer seems really good. It's Johnson's zinc phosphate primer. The reason I got it is because it's compatible with galvanised steel, so we can use it on the interior of the boat. It's not super cheap, but it's not as expensive as your epoxies and things like that either. These bolts, are sort of ordinary M10 high tensile bolts, and they go through to captive nuts that are welded on the underside of the deck, and that's again because once the boat is lined out, we won't be able to get at the other side of the bolts. So if we ever need to remove a mooring bit for whatever reason, or handrail or whatever, you won't be able to get a spanner on the nuts, so the nuts need to be captive. 72 holes for all the handrails and mooring bits, 72 nuts, captive nuts welded in. It took a week and a half, because in some places, although the deck is only 3mm, in some places I've had to drill through a bit of steel that's been welded, and that's much, much harder. It takes ages to get through, and also sometimes 2 or 3 layers of steel sort of thing where there's structures underneath the decking. Up there you've got a mooring bit sort of bolted down. Another thing we've done, sand everywhere from sandblasting, makes it really slippery. Yeah, there were some beams across here, because this aperture in the deck here isn't original. This was a large one piece sort of wooden deck area, and the deck house finished at the end of the roof here. So there was a beam that went across. There's the remnants of it. I've got to trim it off. The beam went across there, and also across there. So this is going to be our bedroom area. Yeah, we didn't want those beams in there at head height. It was going to be an extension from from the main cabin roof coming out to sort of cover up this aperture. Yeah, and this is probably quite a good perspective to, you know, it's right mess in there at the moment. I'm going to have a tidy up today. But yeah, that's sort of living space we've got. It's difficult to get it on camera how large it is, but it's going to be a reasonable space for two people to live in. Right, into the boat. God, nearly killed myself. Yeah, I've got to have a tidy today. The sand is getting a bit too much. Alright, engine room. The watertight bulkhead is complete with a little staircase. That was a bit of a mess around. It's actually quite difficult to work out sort of the ideal height between steps. I started off with 3 steps, and I found they were too close together, and so that made it so that your feet didn't land on the next step very nicely. So I've reduced it down to 2 steps, and it's reasonable. And it means that they're not actually screwed in; they're just planks sort of placed on top there. One of the things I was really keen on was avoiding banging my head on this beam every time I tried to go out after the cabin. So this works quite nicely. It's pretty good, and it's part of the watertight bulkhead. So up to this level, water from the engine room can't get into the saloon, or vice versa. Really, I mean, if it was, you know, we're not going to sea, so you know, we don't need to be watertight up to deck level. Not going to be the River Trent doesn't really get that rough, so I'm not overly concerned. Yeah, in the engine room, so I've got angle iron framework that the deck, sort of wooden deck that you're going to stand on when you're in the wheelhouse steering or using it as a little socialising space. That's all welded in, and initially I was a little bit concerned about how strong this angle iron was. But it's very rigid, and yeah, it seems to support my weight nicely and doesn't really flex or anything. It's got those 2 pillars there, and then a diagonal brace which goes down to that frame and incorporates a bit of framework on the bulkhead there too. I've stitch welded it. It's not continuously welded, doesn't need to be. And yeah, and I've carried on this bit of flat here all the way up and round the corner a little bit and up to the edge of the hull, and that ties in with the stringer that runs the entire length of the boat. So initially when I started welding it, this panel sort of was it drummed a little bit, and I was worried that the engine would vibrate and make the whole bulkhead drum, and it still might actually, but it seems pretty stiff, and I'm reasonably happy with that. Other stuff that's happened. The bed for the engine is fully welded in, so I think probably last time I did the videos we only had the stringers that were welded to the hull. I've now added a 80mm by 6mm bit of flat on the top, and that's what the engine mounts themselves are going to sit on top of. And you can probably see the gussets welded in as well, 26 of them. They're 8mm plate. And that's to stop any twist in that top plate there. Yeah, so that's all gone quite well. It did take a while. A lot of this, basically the most accurate thing I've had to do on the boat, because the engine does actually have to fit and stuff like that. So that's reasonably accurate bit of welding there. Other things is those diagonal bits there on the back there. They're for there's going to be a sofa bed. Sorry, not a bed, sofa in the back of the wheelhouse, and underneath will be a lot of storage. So those angle iron there are for a plywood deck to go on top of, for us to keep stuff under. And under the wings there's going to be fuel tanks, which we managed to get hold of real cheap. We got a couple of eBay bargain fuel tanks for 60 quid, stainless steel, which gives about 180 litres of fuel, which is about nearly 10 hours of running, which is probably alright for the river system in England. Into here it's a total mess. The sandblasting and a bit of paint grinding and things like that has caused a lot of dust. So yeah, one of my missions for today is to eliminate the dust. Here's a lovely, lovely, lovely porthole. I can put my hand in it for scale. It's quite large. They're 19-inch across, and yeah, they're really nice solid brass, and it opens up to that sort of angle. I'm going to put some sort of strong attachment. This is really heavy. I'm going to put some sort of strong attachment on the underside of the deck there to latch the hatch open. So that's that one done. The framework that this one isn't finished yet, so if I can show you this. So that is a piece of angle rolled into a ring, and the porthole is a nice snug fit inside it. I have welded on the back a bunch of stainless nuts. They're M12s. And yeah, basically this gives us again the same issue. These nuts are going to be buried in spray foam insulation once the boat's fully fitted out. So if the porthole ever needs to come out again, you can't get a spanner on that, so they have to be captive. Yeah, I've got this local engineering bloke rolled me these rings on his new ring roller, so it was a bit of an experiment for him, and it's probably about the tightest he can roll angle, and I think he's done quite a nice job really. I asked for a snug fit, and it was a very, very, very snug fit, so I've had to sort of sand the inside a little bit to make it so that it's feasible for the porthole to come in and out. On the other side, I bolted the brass framework to it, because I was worried that the welding would distort the ring a little bit. I haven't unbolted it yet, so I'm not sure if it has or not. Yeah, that's what's going in, and there's the other frame for this side. There's the hole that I cut out. So I just used a plasma cutter. I cut it slightly undersized because I wanted the ring to be a good fit in the hole, and then spent ages with a grinder opening it out to fit nicely. And the other thing is these are asymmetrical. So if you see that one is forwards of that pillar, this one is after the pillar. The reason for that is over there, after that pillar, is going to be our galley sink and sort of plate storage and drying area, and that would basically mean you wouldn't hardly ever be able to open a porthole without moving a bunch of stuff around. So the porthole had to go over there. Where that framework is there's going to be a little bench seat, and so yeah, that porthole is above the bench seat. That's going to be our less used bench seat, so we weren't too worried about losing a bit of backrest space. On this side, this is going to be a sort of the main seating area for us, and so we wanted to not have a porthole interrupting the backrest. It's also going to be a pull-out double bed for guests to stay in. So yeah, we needed to have the porthole over there, and there's going to be a desk, and some of the kitchen workspace is going to be on that side, so that's a good spot for that porthole. And I think you can't really see both sides of the boat at once, so no one's ever going to notice that the boat isn't symmetrical. Yeah, and that's kind of it really. I'm trying to think what else I've done. The last of the rust patches is gone. That's the very last one right there. Yeah, that's welded. The purpley pinky stuff you can see is dye penetrant. I tested the welds, and yep, good results. So that weld is solid. And I guess that is kind of it really. Another view of the bow area. So now that those beams are gone, it just makes the boat feel much bigger. That beam was actually supporting this beam that was there was actually supporting the roof and the deck. So I've put in this diagonal brace to sort of take some of the strain that beam was doing. And when I cut it out, nothing seemed to move, which is good. So I'm thinking it's probably all strong enough. I was going to add a bunch of reinforcement, and as it is, I'm leaving it at just a sort of bit of box section as a perimeter around the edge, to sort of tie it all in together and make it a nice cohesive structure. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. There's a little porthole. The boat had portholes when we got it, but we've still got them. One's got to go back in there. That's all ready drilled and cut out and original, so it just needs sandblasting and painting really. On that side, the place where the porthole was there was a doubling plate for when the boat was a lifeboat. That was one of the places it sat in the cradle, so the doubler was there, and the metal had rotted awfully between the doubler. So that got removed, and I've got to cut a hole for the porthole and slip it in between those two frames there. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. Well, there's our little sandblaster, 90 quid off eBay. It's a Chinese made one, but you know what, it works pretty well. It's a bit small for maybe doing the whole boat, so I think we're going to hire an industrial size one for when it comes to the big blasting period, but it's been very handy for the little sandblasting jobs I've had to do. And yeah, it's all down to compressor size, I think, a lot of it, but also that doesn't hold that much sand, so you'd be forever stopping and refilling it. An industrial one we should be able to blast away for hours with. So yeah, that's where we are. So job's on today, tidy up this complete disaster of a mess, welding that porthole over there, and then I'm going to start on some stringers. Oh, another word as well. You can probably see I've drilled limber holes through the frames there. Didn't think of doing that before we fitted the frames. We really wish I had done. Hole sawing through 8mm steel that close to the bottom edge, it's a complete pain in the arse. So if you are thinking of welding in frames, cut out the limber holes before you weld them in. Learn from my mistakes. Yeah, and that's kind of it. So top tips from me: limber holes, do them before you weld in the metalwork, and dust. Make sure you wear proper breathing apparatus, because I really got quite sick from metal dust, and much better now, but it's best avoided. Alright, thanks for watching.